Detroit Lions fans, Detroit Den 313 back with another one. Stephen Will here. Before we get going, you know what to do. Bang that subscribe button. Helps us out tremendously. If you're following us on social media, you probably noticed that there were some people posting some things that they won recently. It was all types of jerseys and bobbleheads and all types of things. They won those by being subscribers. So think about it, man. If you're feeling moved, if you're watching the show, if you want to get notifications and not miss anything, hit that subscribe button. Now, that's out the way. Steve, the heck is going on, man?
Lots of information going on down there. I think they're in Florida. I don't know. The owners meeting. Brad Holmes is getting interviewed. Dan Campbell's getting interviewed. I think Dan Campbell's now on vacation somewhere. I don't know. It's hard to keep track of these guys, but we're going to talk about some stuff that Brad Holmes said in his interview. Some stuff that's pretty interesting. Maybe that not everyone finds it interesting. I don't know. We'll see, but we're going to have a conversation about it and see how people feel. Will.
Yeah, for sure, man. I think, to be honest, man, I have a hard time understanding how this would not be interesting because this is pretty much what we're doing this whole offseason. We're trying to figure out what Brad's doing, what his thought processes are, how he's attacking the offseason, what his thought process is going into the draft, how he feels about player personnel, and just how we run the Detroit Lions. So I feel like Brad has been as open as he has ever been over this offseason. Typically, he's keeping everything close to the vest. I feel like now that he has his roster in place and his culture in place, he feels a little bit more comfortable talking about certain things. And I'm here for it, man. I'm here for it. I thought that this was going to be 30 years from now. We're watching the Inside the Den about how the Detroit Lions built a dynasty. And obviously, there's still going to be some things that we find out down the road when that happens. But there's just little bits and pieces that keep coming out. So that's it for me going into this thing, man. Where you want to start this thing off at, I guess.
What do you think was the most intriguing part of his interviews? I know we can't clip every single little piece of it because YouTube will slap us with a copyright band-aid or a slap on the wrist, so we don't want that. So if you haven't seen the interview, we're here to break it down, kind of do a little bit. What did you think was the most interesting part of Brad Holmes's interview?
Honestly, for me, I'm probably a horrible person to ask that question because I thought the whole thing. So basically, there was one that the Detroit Lions did, and then there was one, I forget the guy's name. I think he's from
Peacock, NBC guy.
Yeah, yep. Thank you. Good
I
save.
can't think of his name. I'll look it up as we talk.
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but he did like a 15 to 17-minute one, and then the Detroit Lions had one with Fox and everybody asking questions for 30 minutes. So we're talking about 45 minutes of information that got put out, and I felt like dang near all 45 minutes was pertinent and interesting information to break down. So I guess where I'll start it off is this: splashes. This offseason, a lot of people have been pounding the table about making splash moves and why haven't we made splash moves. And I think Brad spoke to that. First thing I'll say, Steve, after hearing Brad talk, how do you feel about not making a splash move? How do you feel about not going to get Max Crosby or Trey Hendrickson or, whoever, the Daniil Hunters of the world and all of that? How do you feel about it now?
Do you want me to use the exact analogy and phrase that Brad Holmes used? Because I've used it before. He pretty much said, your financial responsibility is to pay your bills first. Your bills in this scenario being your current players, which is he's slowly starting to do. He did a big signing last year. Well, there'll probably be some more coming in the future in the next few weeks before the draft, kind of like we did last year. He said you want to take care of your finances first before you go out and have that family vacation. That family vacation might not happen this summer. I might have to save a little money before I can go out and make that big splash and that fun adventure. So I think he's very good with his analogies, and I always pick up on those, and I kind of always understand what he's trying to say. And I've said the same thing, like the money just doesn't make sense to go out and make a massive splash and add another $40 or $35 million contract to this team when we're going to have our own guys who are going to want 40 to 25 million, depending on your position, coming up in the very near future. Like we talked about yesterday with Hutchinson and JMO, like we got to take care of what we need to take care of here in this house first before we start branching out and having a little fun and adding some pieces to this roster. So I absolutely picked up what he was putting down. I think we've preached that all year. On top of that, in some of those situations, you're looking at giving up multiple draft picks to get those guys. So I understood what Brad was saying, and it made perfect sense to me.
Yeah, I get that, but how do you feel about it is what I'm asking. How do you feel about him not willing to make splash moves. Like, do you feel good about it? Do you feel like he's on? Do you feel like he's off? Like, where you at with it?
I don't think we need to make a big splash move. It's nice. It's fun to talk about. It gives people content to talk about for weeks and weeks and weeks, even if there's no rumors behind it. But here we try to keep it real. We knew it wasn't going to come. I'm okay with that. I've been saying the draft. Like, that's where we're going to add some talent. So I'm perfectly fine with what he did.
Yeah, and that's really what I was getting at, because like I said, there's a lot of people that wanted that splash move. And I don't think it was an inability to make the splash. I think it's exactly what you said. He talked about the underlying theme of the whole thing to me was financial discipline. And it's the word that he used. And the exact analogy was, he said, you got a mortgage, you got your child's college fund, you got to pay insurance, like you got responsibilities. But at the end of that thing, after you take care of all of that, you don't have enough money to go on that vacation that you want to go on this year, because you had to take care of all of those financial obligations. And he talked about the implications that has to players getting re-signed this year and then even into 2027. Like, how are you going to have the money to play those players? But what was interesting to me was he talked about his player evaluations and the guys that he has in-house and the thought processes of those guys and how they go about the process from their talent group and what they believe they have in talent to their scouting and what they believe that they can go get, and matching up their players against what's out there in free agency and what that looks like. And just speaking to, sometimes there's names out there that maybe doesn't match up with the guy that you have that played a little bit of practice squad, that got a few meaningful reps, but you're excited about. So to me, that tells me that there's some guys in this young group of players that they're excited about. And maybe some of those veteran names that are out there, they feel like these players have the ability to get to their level as they continue to progress, or they're already there, or just a better and more financially responsible piece. That makes sense. Another one that I really noticed, man, from that was Levi Onwuzurike, man. He seems to be pretty excited about Levi. That excites me. But he made the comment of this. He said he was surprised at what they were able to do. There's so many people that put in our comments, Steve, of how they're disappointed about how free agency went. We didn't do enough. And he said that he's actually surprised by how much we were able to do. He mentioned that the primary thought process was being in that cornerback market, and how he knew that market was going to start at $16 million. And how would he be able to sign guys like Tim Patrick, guys like Levi Onwuzurike, if he had to spend big money on a corner? Oh, and he was actually surprised. So does that bother you that he's surprised by what we did, or are you good with it?
No, I'm actually, when I was watching his body language when he was talking about that, he seemed happy and relieved when he was talking about 16 million and that being, hey, you want to sit at the table and talk with a corner, it's $16 million and we go from there. To get DJ Reed at apparently the lowest amount expected, if he had that information and knew, and he said, I'm going to go out and get DJ Reed at 16 million at the floor of this market, that's a steal. And he kind of seemed like he took like a deep sigh of relief when he said that, because I think he doesn't really want to draft a corner in this draft. That's just me looking into something. Maybe it's too much, but I think when he said that he knew what the number was and it was 16 million, and I'm sitting here thinking that's exactly what he got DJ Reed for. So you're telling me, in other words, you got one of the best corners on the market for as cheap as the market could possibly have been. I think that's an absolute steal and a great phenomenal value, Will. So I'm absolutely thrilled with that. And then we added some depth pieces on the D line. We bring back some of our own guys that were critical to the team last year, especially Levi, being Mr. consistent, I guess, because he was like the only one that didn't really get hurt into the season. So he was kind of like the battle tested warrior from week 1 to the final week of the year. Bringing back Tim Patrick, who I thought played pretty good, especially at the end of the year when he started to get his legs under him coming off those injuries. So to get DJ Reed and then still add a couple pieces, and we're still going into the, later in this month, we're really going to add some talent, I think. So I think he did a phenomenal job in free agency. I've never knocked anything. So, well, are you asking me, are Lions fans being a little too irrational? That would never be the case. Lions fans wouldn't do something like that, would they?
I wouldn't even say just are Lions fans being irrational? Just in general, are they picking up what he's putting down? Are they picking up? Because a lot of times people get in these comments and they say, Brad's gonna do this, he's doing this, blah blah blah, and this is what's gonna happen. Are you guys even watching? Or this? Hey, let's listen to exactly what Brad's saying, because I feel like he even made mention to he's been trying to talk to Detroit Lions fans since the combine directly. He tried to, at the combine, let Detroit Lions fans know there's not going to be any splash moves. And really what I'm trying to do, Steve, is speak to really other podcasts. And this isn't throwing shade. Like, this is just facts. I feel like it's irresponsible. And I keep saying this. I feel like it's irresponsible to continue to get on podcasts and talk about going to get Max Crosby, talking to go get Myles Garrett, trying to go get Trey Hendrickson. Listen, guys, I say this all the time. If we wanted to just get viewership and just get as many clicks and likes as we wanted to, it's simple. You just get on here, talk about how great the Detroit Lions are, talk about how they can go sign Tom Brady and Myles Garrett and Max Crosby is coming. And, you can easily get on here and talk about those things. But to us, the right thing to do is to say the things that we truly believe and to say the things that we are seeing Brad actually talk about and the true paper trails of what's going on. And that's what we do. So we don't get on here and continuously talk about, hey, Myles, the Detroit Lions were the most that talked to the Cleveland Browns the most about Myles. Myles is on the way, guys. Just wait. But like, we don't continuously get on and do Myles Garrett shows. And we know
Will,
that
Max Crosby's from Michigan. He's coming to the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And exactly, man. We don't continue to do Max Crosby shows to get clicks and views. We try to continuously put out real content and be a real show. So I just feel like it's irresponsible, Steve. And and I feel like it's like cancerous to the podcast audience for the Detroit Lions, or just NFL in general, but our audience is the Detroit Lions for the most part. It's cancerous because of this, because they go watch those other podcasts and then they come to watch ours, and then they got questions about why aren't we doing those shows, or why do we believe what we believe, or why do we think that we're Brad Holmes or this or that. I don't believe I'm Brad Holmes, but I also understand I have a small-minded understanding of how the NFL works. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a genius, like I should be Mike Disner or Rod Wood or something like that. But I have a fundamental understanding from almost direct personal experience of family members and close friends playing in the league and talking to them, and just literally watching and studying what Brad is saying and what information is being put out. All we have to do is listen to what he's saying. Not only did he say there's not going to be a splash move right now, there's not going to be a splash move until probably past 2027. That's when it's going to be vacation time, because now these guys are going to be of age to where they're on contracts. Maybe their abilities are declining. You got to make some certain decisions on which ones you keep. You'll have other young guys that'll be probably coming to a time to where they'll be on their second deal. So you got to sign those guys to their second deals, and you let some of these veteran guys go, or they'll be retiring. That'll be the time to go on that vacation. He's literally saying it. All we have to do is follow what he's saying. So that's my biggest thing, Steve, coming away from the first half of this is just, we have to start as content creators, news analysts, journalists. We have to be responsible for not just creating, hey, Max Crosby is coming to Detroit. Well, if they don't do it, man, it don't mix. It's just not what it is. So would you be agreement, or are you am I off base? Because I don't want to directly speak for you and then
agreement. Am I in agreement? Well, I already know the answer to the $1 million question. I'll tell you exactly why other content creators do stuff like that. It's because it's a dead period in the NFL and there's not a whole lot going. A lot of people don't dive into college film and start talking about prospects as soon as the season ends. A lot of people just throw out a mock draft and they do a mock draft once a week. Like, we don't do that. We talk about Max Crosby. We don't talk about him once a week. We talk about him like once. That's it. Hey, we'll talk about him again if any more news happens. Same thing with Trey Hendrickson, Myles Garrett. We'll mention it. Hey, I understand it's NFL news. It doesn't directly relate to the Detroit Lions. We're not a Cleveland Browns or a Raiders podcast or a Cincinnati Bengals podcast. But if a defensive end is available and we're in need of a defensive end, we'll talk about it. We'll say, hey, this is what it's going to cost. You're going to have to give up some capital and pay this guy. We'll talk about it again when some more news happens. People do that because there's nothing left for them to talk about. So I that's why I don't even watch Detroit Lions podcast anymore. I slipped up the other day and I watched one because I thought the thumbnail and title was pretty interesting. So I tuned in and checked that one out. I won't say who it was. I'll have my intern tell you who it was, Will. When we get off air. But yeah, we try to just be consistent, okay? We don't need to talk Max Crosby every other day. We don't need to put him on our thumbnails just to get clicks and views. We try to grow this audience by being consistent and talking about different things like this. Brad Holmes has said what he's going to do. People just don't want to listen to it because it's not the most exciting to just sit back and it's hard for me to be patient, Will, but I understand it's the NFL. I'm the most impatient person in the world. Trust me. I'm checking my phone every single day, waiting for my wife to call and say, hey, we got to go to the labor and delivery room. Baby's on the way. I am literally on the edge of my seat waiting every single day. But I have to be patient. And it's very, very hard for me, especially when there's things that I'm passionate about. I want that Detroit Lions Super Bowl more than anyone else in this world. We talk Detroit Lions, 330 days out of the year. We go to every single game. If we don't go to them, we're watching on TV. So when people say, do you guys even watch the Detroit Lions? Like, yes, we actually have to take time off of work to catch Lions games. So we're sacrificing some vacation time to go to Lions games. We're sacrificing our own money like everyone else is. And yes, we do watch Lions games and we talk Lions about 330 days a year if we take an off day here and there, whatnot. But Brad says what he's going to do, and it's not sexy. It's not fun sometimes, but it's consistent. He's going to address pieces in free agency or the draft. What's the biggest trade he's made? Jared Goff for Matthew Stafford. That was like his first week as Detroit Lions GM. Like it happened pretty fast. And that was four years ago now. So he hasn't made a big monstrous splash trade in 4 years. And we all kind of saw that one coming because Matthew Stafford went to management and said, hey, I'd like to be traded. So it wasn't really even crazy news that it happened. It was just a matter of who's he getting traded to. So 4 years without a big splash trade, I don't know why people think it's going to suddenly happen now. He keeps telling us over and over and over and over again it's not going to happen. So I don't know what else we have to say about it, Will, because I guess it's like telling kids that, mommy and daddy are actually putting the Christmas tree under the presents. Like we got to open up the eyes, I guess. So I don't know, Will. It's just Brad Holmes doesn't do things sexy, but we're winning 15 football games a year. We're winning the NFC North. We're hosting home playoff games. Like, do you guys want that? Or do you want to go back to how it was before when it would be week 9 and we'd be looking at mock drafts and seeing who we're going to get and at what pick we were going to be picking? Because I definitely don't want to go backwards.
Yeah. Trying to tank the season so we can make sure we get Aiden Hutchinson and all types of stuff or whatever. Yeah, definitely. That doesn't that time is still close enough to me, man, to where I remember it. I'm with
I remember
you.
just a couple years ago thinking, what do we got to do to tank and get Bryce Young? Like that's where I was when we were 1-6 and then kind of went on a hot streak.
Yeah. So, man, I'm with you. I will say, the last couple things that I want to get into is this. We did a show yesterday talking about 5th-year options, talking about Hutch and talking about J-Mo. One of the things that I said is obviously Hutch is a no-brainer, and I felt like J-Mo had to do a couple things to solidify the things that he's already done. And Brad spoke to it. This is the only clip that we're going to put in from the owners meeting. Now, I will say Steve is there's birds chirping in the background. It absolutely drives him bananas. So try to listen to what Brad's saying and ignore the birds chirping and the good morning chimes in the background, and then we'll speak to it afterwards.
Those two questions. And Jameson, because he had the suspensions,
Yep.
is he at that level that you're willing to, do an extension with him? Does he have more to prove? How does he fit into that long term?
Yeah, I mean, look, we're still taking it, as it goes. Look, his 5th-year option's coming. It's looking likely that we'll go ahead and just pick that up. But in terms of extension, again, there's a lot of extensions that are hopefully coming. But you know, it's just one that you just don't know what's going to happen from a financial standpoint because a wide receiver it's expensive. It's very expensive.
So, Steve, I kind of felt like yesterday when I made mention to maybe bringing in a guy like an Isaiah Bond or was it Matthew Golden or just any Kyle Williams, anybody to compete with JMO, highlighting the fact that there's other deep threats out there. Even though I want JMO here and I want things to work out and I really like JMO, it's always about the team in my mindset. I'm a team guy. I've always played on teams. I've always been a guy that was brought up by, my uncles and all my coaches to value the team effort and not being an individual. That's all I'm talking about when I say it. It's nothing against JMO directly, but it's about I understand that Dan and Brad have to make decisions based on the team. So that's the only reason why I said we're going to pick up his 5th-year option. That's a no-brainer. But will he get extended? He still has some things that he has to do before he is locked into that extension. People were freaking out about it. JMO guy, we got to have JMO, blah, blah, blah. If JMO is going to end up doing things to where he's not going to be on the field, does it make sense to sign him to this? What was Jamar Chase's 4 or 5 years, 161 million? Like, so does it make sense? Yeah, does it make sense to sign JMO? Because if you don't want to say, okay, she's not Jamar Chase, okay, that's fine. Is he the caliber of a guy like Tyreek Hill or T. Higgins or, a number 2 guy that, because I think T. Higgins got 119 or something like that. So, I mean, it's still going to be crazy money. Right. So do you extend him or do you make him? Still hasn't played a full season. That's all I'm saying. He's got to play a full season. And I think as financially responsible as Brad is, that's all he's saying. He's not saying anything negative. He loves JMO. If you know anything about Brad, he absolutely loves JMO. He even mentioned earlier in that segment about how he believes that JMO is probably top 5 fastest in the league, and he's like the top 1 or 2 fastest players that he's ever evaluated ever. Right. So he's got a tremendous respect for who JMO is and how he's a rare combination of that tough grittiness as well as the speed. Normally when you got a speedster, they're like, I don't want to get hit. I'm just going to get out of bounds. No, he's ready to block his butt off. He's ready to go run down on special teams as a gunner, if you know anything about what he was doing at Alabama. So, but that's all. This 5th-year option is pretty much gonna happen, but the extension is still up in the air. Financially responsible, Detroit Lions. I love it. He also mentioned about us winning for not just right now, but winning for longevity, the long haul. How do you do that? You sign Kirby Joseph. You sign Brian Branch. You sign Sam Laporta. You sign Jahmyr Gibbs. I know Penei Sewell's already signed, but I mean, you got to sign these guys, man, and continue to keep this young talent together, that core group gelling, and then bring young talent in to replace them as the years go. And that's how we'll keep this thing going. If we don't do that, then we'll be flash in the pan. If you go out and you sign the Myles Garrett's or the Max Crosby's or the Trey Hendrickson, and then you got those guys for a 2-year rental, and then you're searching for talent again, you're going to go and then be trying to fight your way back up the mountain again. I don't think that's what Brad is after. I'm thankful for it. I think that we are trending in the direction that we're going to be winners for a decade. And if you get in a dance over a decade, you have opportunities to win the Super Bowl, more opportunities. If you get in a dance for a 2-year rental and you don't win, and then you're in the middle of a rebuild again, that's just a terrible situation. So that's kind of where I'm at about it. I'm excited about it. I liked what I saw out of Brad. It really intrigued me. I'm interested to see how people feel about it, Steve.
William, can I say something about that clip just real quick? I
Yes,
already know you know what I'm going to say, but shame on that production team for putting all those birds in the background. Or this is a Detroit Lions podcast. If I wanted birds around, send those birds to the Eagles, the Falcons. Like, I need Brad Holmes with a lion roaming behind him. That's what I need. Like, you guys had a golden opportunity to go to whatever state you're in, go to the zoo, pay the zoo a couple $100,000 and put a live lion behind Brad Holmes in that interview. Like, shame on you guys. I don't want to hear no damn birds chirping while I'm trying to listen to the greatest GM in the history of football speak his mind about Jameson Williams. But he also said, stuff about JMO and how, like, and I think I'm going to try to mix these two interviews because he did one with, I found out that guy's name was Mike Florio from NBC. So I'm going to mix the two together. And he was asked about JMO's selflessness. And the guy, Mike Florio, asked, you get a lot of these receivers and, they're we want the ball guys. Is that coming from culture or is that an understanding of what type of player he is? And Brad Holmes kind of said it's both. We're building a culture day one, and we understand Jameson Williams is more physical than what people give a lot of credit for. He goes out and blocks. He has no problem being a decoy, taking the top off and opening up some space underneath for guys like Sam Laporta, St. Brown, Tim Patrick for big plays. That's almost a direct word for word quote if you guys want to check out that NBC interview. So Jameson Williams is going to be expensive, and it would be foolish of Brad Holmes not to go out in either this draft or next year's draft and find some insurance for just in case that contract goes up to, if Jameson Williams has a good couple years and that contract's looking at 14 right now, but it's kind of getting into that mid to upper 20s to keep him on an extension, it would be foolish not to go out and get a wide receiver either this draft or next while Jameson Williams is still on the team for just in case. Because that's what insurance is. It's you don't want to have to use it unless you absolutely need it. So if Jameson Williams becomes too expensive, hey, now we got a guy like a Kyle Williams and Isaiah Bond. And, maybe it's a little bit hard to watch Jameson Williams walk out the door, but I'm a little bit easier to do that if I have another guy willing to take his place and I can keep things at the very worst the same. So I do think Brad Holmes takes a wide receiver within the next 2 years, or he'll sign a wide receiver. I don't know, but he'll address the position within the next 2 seasons. So I'm not worried about it right now today, but it is something to look into going forward.
Definitely. 100% agree, man. No arguments here. I'm with you.
What else you got today, Will?
I think that's it for me, man. I just want to hear about how people feel about it. I'll share it on social media. Both interviews. I'll share them on Twitter. So if you got Twitter or X, I apologize. Sorry, Elon. My bad.
Twitter, whatever. He's still getting his money. Don't worry about him.
Right. Well, yeah, I'll share it on there if you want to find it. I'll tag Detroit Dan, obviously, and Steve. So wherever you tend to find our stuff, go ahead and go check it out. And if you haven't seen them already, and like I said, I'm interested to see how you feel, man.
That's all.
Yes, sir.
Stick around, hit that like button. We'll be back later with another show.
Peace.